So I've been watching these LA riots and these protestings that is going on, and I just want to understand, why are we flying Latin American flags if we're trying to prove to people that we too are American, that we too are just as American as everybody else? Why are you flying that Mexican flag? Why are you waving that Guatemalan flag? Please help me understand. A lot of people have also been saying, oh, well, California used to be part of Mexico. And Mexico took that land from Native Americans. Also, the fact that a lot of Latinos don't want to fly the American flag because they think that it's a colonizer's flag, yet have the audacity to fly a Mexican flag, another colonizer's flag, is so beyond stupid to me. It just shows how ignorant our community is. That Mexican flag was not made by indigenous people. It was made by colonizers as well in 1821. I also really want to know, where was all of this chaotic energy when under the Biden administration they couldn't all of a sudden track down 300,000 children? Where was this energy? Where was this energy when it was known that the Biden administration was not even tracking down all of the kids that were being trafficked? Where was this energy? As someone who was born and raised in Guatemala and then came to the United States, it pisses me off how a lot of you Latinos are out here destroying our own communities here in the United States and then making us as Latin Americans look bad. Do you think this is what people want? Do you think people are asking for you to destroy the United States? No. People want you to address what is going on in Latin America. See, all of this stuff is going on. See, a lot of our people are escaping Latin America because the moment we come to the United States, we completely forget about our homeland. We completely forget about the real issues. We don't want to address and educate ourselves on all the plantations that are in Latin America. But how many Latin Americans love their Starbucks? How many Latin Americans love their Dunkin' Donuts and their McDonald's and all of these stupid things that is literally enslaving our own people? How many? Too many. You know what? Latinos will boycott Coca-Cola, but then we'll turn around and drink Pepsi. And it also makes me upset that we want to talk about la raza this, while flying that Mexican flag. Well, let me tell you something. What that Mexican government does to other Central Americans, they unalive them, baby. Whenever you cross that Mexican border, guess what? You get unalived if they catch you. I completely understand feeling the pride of wanting to fly our own flags. Of course, do that at home. But also remember, even at home, that you're still in the United States of America. So also fly that American flag. Fly that United States of American flag, baby. Okay? Because you're every part of this society. And for us to continuously turn around and not acknowledge that, come on now, that's not okay. And I've done that in my life, so I completely understand that feeling of wanting to resent a country that has done damage. But you also have to understand that you are part of that damage. You are part of that society that is causing that damage. So don't act like you don't have privilege. Don't act like you're not part of the problem also. Even within this raza aesthetics too, a lot of people don't represent their indigenous country style. They don't represent the Guatemalan indigenous style, the Mexican indigenous style, the Colombian, the Venezuelan, all of these different beautiful countries, but want to represent that flag. Part of the reason why a lot of our people are going through a lot of the things that they're going through is because there's a huge attack on indigenous people, on indigenous land, on indigenous rights. And we as Latin Americans who come to the United States, come on now, we don't address that. Let's be for real. And even when I have been seeing these Guatemalan flags too waving around, I have to think like, a lot of the issues that is going on is because our people are suffering under that flag, because the Caibiles are also training the Mexican cartel and then turning around and then slaughtering our own villages. But us as Guatemalans, we don't address that here in the United States. So it makes me upset when I'm seeing all of this chaos, all of this violence happening under the flags that we don't even address the issues that is going on in those countries. Like I have said before, a lot of our own people support the very companies that is enslaving our own people, that is helping to destroy our own communities. And yet we like to then point the finger at ICE. Well, ICE wouldn't have to be doing all of this if our people felt safe enough back in our Latin American countries. And part of the reason why they don't feel safe in their Latin American countries is because we, as United States of American citizens, we depend on Latin American production. We depend on all of these things because we aren't producers ourselves. That's the problem, is our lifestyle. We want to point the finger at the very people that is trying to stop a lot of violence already. ICE has to stop a lot of the violence that is already happening when we have open borders. When the Biden administration allowed open borders and all of those trafficking, all of those violence, exploitations, a lot of the recruitment. The cartel had also been known to use children from the United States of America in order to help them traffic people through the borders. And ICE had to help stop that. And then we don't take responsibilities for our own action. We don't take accountability for our own actions. And even when we talk about La Raza, right, and fly these flags, we have to also acknowledge that the Latin American from Latin America is completely different from the Latin American here in the United States. And I am included in those categories of people from Latin America here in the United States. My lifestyle is completely different from the lifestyle of another Latin American Guatemalan woman. Like, let's be for real. And this is part of the problem that we don't acknowledge here in the United States. A lot of the things that is going on in California and New York is wrong. But come on now. It's also wrong for us to turn away from our own people. It's also wrong for us to just point continuously the finger at the wrong people and never point the finger at ourselves. Burning down cities, destroying cities is not going to solve the issue, guys. Not at all.
All right, so you heard it here first, and definitely you got to understand that the fight among flags is something that people are going to feel empowered about. You know, you're from your country, you understand your flag, and you know wherever you go, you might want to still represent your flag, but you got to understand that where you are currently, there's certain things that you cannot do as far as eliminating someone else's flag in order to represent yours because you're now staying there. You know what I mean? She did raise a lot of great points.
Yes.
And a lot of this, you know, the topic that you probably heard is going to have you thinking. And so, you know, as far as the Biden administration and the open borders, and I still have to wonder, how is it that they can traffic 300,000 kids and just not be
right,
you know, not be discovered? 300,000 kids, you know how many kids is
it's
that?
a lot of things going on behind the scenes, a lot of things that the American people know of, and a lot of things that the American people would not know of because of lack of education and exposure. Right? There's a lot of things that this young lady said. She says, you know, the exploitation that goes on in her country in regards to, like, quick example with the Starbucks, assuming that she means that the coffee beans, the plantation workers,
I would assume
on how
that.
they get it here in order to make Starbucks. But yet you disagree with how your people are being treated, but you're, you know,
importing
once
everything.
you're here, you totally forget about all the hard work, labor, and the disadvantages, right? Sort of like slavery, if you will, that your people is going through. And while you're here, you're just enjoying the luxuries. You're indulging, like she said, in the Starbucks, the Pepsi, or whatever.
Coca-Cola.
And these are industries that are put in place to hold your people down, right? It's the same thing with Africa with the cocoa beans and stuff like that. Most of the cocoa beans come from, not even most, all of the cocoa beans come from Ghana. Right? But when it comes down to the people, the main source of the crop or ingredient, they do all of the hard work,
the
and
harvesting,
they
and
don't
yeah.
even really get compensated. And then by the time it goes over to France, suddenly they're the best chocolatiers, and they have all of us contributing to France and, you know,
Right.
giving money and keeping them in business. I totally understand where she's coming from with the flag thing and so on and so forth. I get it. People they want to represent where they come from and so on and so forth. But once again, once you're in another place, you're on American soil. Not to sound cliche, but if you're in Rome, do what the Romans do.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's
But
just,
it's-
for me,
it's-
it's a level of respect.
Right. It's respect.
You can't
as well,
be out
but-
there burning the American flag, but yet
Right.
you're getting all of your advantages from being in America.
Well, why? What's the problem with sharing the space in which where that flag sits? Why is it that there's a problem if you have your native flag?
No, it's not even about having your
Alongside.
native flag, because nobody's saying that you can't have your native
Well,
flag.
according to
But the problem is, right, the problem at hand is people are disrespecting the American flag and what it stands for, burning that flag and replacing it with their flag. Once again, I said this in a prior video. It's like, for instance, if you go to another country, right? Let's just take ourselves for a second, no matter where you come from. Doesn't matter at this point, right? It's just a generalized example. And you go over to, let's say, maybe China. You get there and you start to talk reckless about China. China is not this, China ain't got this, the people, I hate the culture, I hate this, I hate that. And you go over there, you try to burn the Chinese flag, and you try to put your flag in place of the Chinese flag in their face.
Yeah.
You're going to feel totally disrespected as a Chinese citizen.
You might not make it back.
Right, that's another thing. You
Yeah.
know, the laws are so different.
Yeah.
You know, over in America, the laws are more suited for liberals, and you get to be accommodated, and you know, basically, when you enter into another country, it's like entering into a different world. You have to do what they do because there's certain measures and rules that's set in place. If you don't do what you got to do while you're there, it's one or two things. It's either they're going to put you on the first flight back, or you're going to get yourself in some real serious problems,
Right.
which could equate to either death or
Yeah.
maybe jail time.
Yeah, you'll definitely
Right?
see what their jail system
Right.
consists of. Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Right.
So, I mean, you know, it's like I said, it's a lot of back and forth when it comes down to the immigration policies. But I will say that I feel like America is they're not that hard when it comes down to implementing immigration policy. Because there's a lot of people that just, you know, due to the open borders and so on and so forth, or whether or not if you get on a plane and you come here and you overstay and you hope to stay under the radar and you don't file the necessary paperwork in order to stay here, that's a problem. Everybody who is in a particular place, it should be documented. Let us know what you think about what this young lady has to say. Do you agree with what she is saying? Do you think that most of us are part of the problem? Or do you think that America is just too lenient and it's about time that, you know, action needs to take place, basically? Let us know in the comments what you feel. And that's about it. We'll hit you back with another video.